You pull back sharply on the braided reins, leaning your weight to signal the horse beneath you. The animal instantly adopts a strained, uneven gait, feigning a deep lameness in its front leg as it plods through the scrub brush. Just over the barren ridge outside Fort Phil Kearny, Captain William J. Fetterman and 80 heavily armed U.S. soldiers watch you stumble. They see an isolated, vulnerable warrior separated from the main host, an easy prize that will secure their glory on the frontier. They pursue with reckless enthusiasm, marching directly into the frozen ravine you have carefully selected for them. True leadership demands the sacrifice of personal prestige, uncompromising principles, and ultimately one's own life to ensure the survival of the people. You are not riding to win individual acclaim today. You are willingly acting as bait, offering yourself to the enemy's sights. The trap springs with terrifying precision, and Fetterman's entire command is decisively defeated in a devastating ambush. This tactical brilliance on the Bozeman Trail is born from a deep, agonizing distrust forged many years earlier. As a young boy in 1854, you are known throughout the camps as our strange one. You are profoundly introverted, preferring quiet isolation in the tall grass over the boisterous dancing and loud boasting of the other youths around the evening fires. Yet beneath this quiet exterior lies a vast empathy. You routinely venture out to hunt game, specifically to feed the elderly and those who can no longer hunt for themselves, quietly leaving meat at the edges of their lodges. Then, the fragile peace of the plains shatters before your eyes. You bear witness as U.S. troops under Lieutenant John Grattan march aggressively into a Lakota camp. They arrive seeking retribution over a trivial dispute regarding a wandering, butchered emigrant cow. Tensions flare, and the soldiers open fire, striking down the respected chief, conquering bear. In the immediate and furious retaliation, Grattan's entire detachment meets a violent end. Watching the revered chief fall in the dust severs the very last threads of your childhood innocence. It is a bitter historical irony that the very military forces seeking to pacify a frontier frequently forge their own most implacable adversaries through reckless acts of unprovoked aggression. The trauma of the gunfire anchors a lifelong, uncompromising resistance against encroaching white settlers within your mind, framing the immense ideological stakes of the decades to come. Driven by the escalating threat to your vast homeland, you seek spiritual fortification beyond the counsel of mortal men. Fasting entirely alone in the high, rugged hills, you undergo a grueling vision quest, enduring days of thirst and exposure. In the profound depths of your exhaustion, a powerful storm dream overtakes you. You witness an unadorned rider emerging from a swirling tempest, bearing a single small stone tied closely behind his ear, and a jagged lightning bolt painted vividly across his face. The spectral rider moves untouched through a hail of flying projectiles. The vision dictates a strict, mystical code that will govern your battlefield presence for the remainder of your days. You must strip away all ornamental regalia, rejecting the elaborate feathers and beadwork favored by your peers. Crucially, you are forbidden from taking physical trophies from fallen enemies. This austere mandate grants you a revered reputation for invincibility, but it also profoundly isolates you from the traditional warrior culture of public triumph and communal celebration. In 1858, you put this austere spiritual power to the ultimate test during a fierce intertribal skirmish against Arapaho enemies on the open plains. You ride fearlessly into the fray, rubbing prairie dust over yourself and your horse in a protective rite before combat. Your extraordinary bravery under fire, darting untouched through the chaos, prompts your father to formally bestow his own name upon you. From that day forward, you carry the heavy mantle of Tјašúŋke Witkó. Your rapid ascension as a legendary protector brings deep, agonizing complications, because defending the external borders of the Lakota Nation requires maintaining a delicate internal harmony among the extended family units. the Tjošúŋke. This fragile unity fractures violently when you enter into a chaotic elopement with Black Buffalo Woman, drawing the explosive fury of her husband, No Water. In a sudden tense confrontation within the camp, No Water levels a pistol and shoots you directly in the jaw, a brutal wound that nearly costs you your life. To prevent a catastrophic blood feud from tearing the tribe apart during a time of existential threat, tribal elders quickly intervene. You are forced to swallow your immense pride and accept a modest offering of horses as compensation for the grievous injury. More devastatingly, you must formally surrender your highly prestigious title of shirt wearer, a sacred, elevated role designating a chief protector of the people. Modern political narratives often equate true authority with the relentless accumulation of titles, wealth, and unyielding power. Yet genuine indigenous leadership frequently requires the exact opposite, a willingness to publicly strip oneself of high honors and accept personal humiliation to preserve the social fabric of the community. The agonizing personal costs of your position soon multiply in the shadows of the expanding frontier. When introduced diseases sweep through the vulnerable camps, your young daughter contracts cholera and quickly perishes. Inconsolable with grief, you ride out completely alone into the desolate wilderness for days, burying your immense sorrow in the silent, sweeping expanses of the plains, bearing the weight of leadership in utter isolation. Emerging from these profound personal trials, you are forced to confront an existential military crisis. By June 1876, the U.S. government has issued strict ultimatums demanding that all free Lakota abandon their nomadic lives and move on to bounded reservations. Armies march to seize the sacred Black Hills, driven by the discovery of gold. In response, you rally a massive, unprecedented coalition of tribes to defend the great encampments. At the Valley of the Rosebud, you intercept General George Crook's heavily armed advancing forces. Eschewing traditional mass charges, you employ highly decentralized, guerrilla-style tactics. You direct converging columns of warriors with sharp blasts from eagle-bone whistles and the rapid flash of handheld mirrors catching the harsh sun. The relentless, coordinated assaults fight Crook's soldiers to a bloody standstill, forcing him to withdraw and fatally severing his ability to reinforce the main army. Just days later, this battlefield mastery culminates along the winding banks of the Greasy Grass, a river known to the soldiers as the Little Bighorn. Remembering the success of your earlier decoy maneuvers, you do not launch a reckless frontal assault against the entrenched troops. Instead, you execute a sweeping, wide flanking maneuver far to the north. You trap General George A. Custer's isolated battalion entirely from behind. The 7th Cavalry is systematically dismantled in the tall grass, marking the absolute zenith of Native American resistance on the Great Plains. This monumental triumph, however, provokes a devastating and overwhelming response from the humiliated government. Unable to defeat you in open combat, the military fundamentally alters its strategy. Through the bitter, freezing winter of 1876 to 1877, Colonel Nelson Miles mounts a relentless pursuit across the snow-choked landscape. You successfully evade his heavily equipped patrols, but the soldiers systematically burn the surrounding villages, decimating the pony herds and destroying crucial stores of dried meat. The ruthless strategy of attrition succeeds precisely where conventional cavalry charges failed. The ultimate weapon of imperial conquest is rarely the speed of the bullet. It is the calculated eradication of a people's shelter and food supply, effectively weaponizing the lethal winter climate itself into an instrument of state violence. Your people are relentlessly pushed to the absolute brink of starvation, their families freezing in the biting winds with nowhere to find refuge. The conflict dramatically shifts from tactical warfare to sheer survival, forcing you into an excruciating dilemma. To keep the shivering children and elders from dying in the snowdrifts, you must finally yield the very freedom you swore to protect. On May 6, 1877, You lead your exhausted, starving followers into the confines of the Red Cloud Agency and formally surrender your weapons. Shortly after, the army demands your active assistance in subduing the fleeing Nez Perce tribe. You respond with thick, heavy sarcasm, expressing a profound disgust that the military interpreters dangerously misunderstand as a genuine threat of armed rebellion. This fatal mistranslation, aggressively fueled by rampant military paranoia, sets the stage for your tragic end. On September 5, 1877, anxious army officers lure you to a supposedly peaceful meeting at the guardhouse of Fort Robinson. As you step through the heavy wooden frame of the door, the stark reality of the iron bars and heavy chains greets your eyes. You realize instantly that you are being permanently imprisoned. Refusing to be caged like an animal, you draw a hidden knife and fight fiercely for your freedom in the cramped quarters. In the chaotic, desperate struggle, your arms are suddenly grabbed and pinned tightly from behind by Little Big Man, a former friend and trusted ally who is now acting on behalf of the agency. As you thrash against his powerful grip, a military guard lunges forward, driving a sharp bayonet deep into your kidneys. You collapse to the cold floor of the guardhouse, bleeding out onto the very soil you fought so relentlessly to protect. The ancient prophecy of your storm vision is finally fulfilled. You fall not to a soldier's bullet on the open battlefield, but while physically restrained by one of your own people. You surrender your life rather than your integrity, proving once and for all that true leadership demands the sacrifice of personal prestige, uncompromising principles, and ultimately one's own life to ensure the survival of the people.